Hey, what's up, family? How's it going? Back into the swing of things. It is Monday, February 12th, 2018, and this is my take for today. Um, it was a pretty interesting weekend. I didn't really do too much, as you all could probably tell. So now we're going to get right back into, the real nitty gritty. And the first thing I want to talk about, or the main story that I really want to talk about, is how the Trump administration, they just released their budget for like 2018 or 2019. I'm not too sure what year it actually is for, because I just don't pay attention to details that well. But one of the main things that they're looking to change is SNAP, and SNAP stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Um, so the Trump administration is proposing a major shakeup in one of the country's most important safety net programs, that being the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. Under the proposal, most SNAP recipients would lose much of their ability to choose the food they buy with their SNAP benefits. The Washington Post puts it, a little bit more differently. Basically, they said Trump wants to slash food stamps and replace them with a Blue Apron style program. And they said the Trump administration wants to slash food aid to low income families and make up the difference with a box of canned goods, a change that the Office of Management and Budget Director Mick Mulvaney describes in a Monday briefing as a Blue Apron type program. And he said, what we do is propose that for folks who are on food stamps, not all, part of their benefits come in the actual sort of, and I don't want to steal somebody's copyright, but a Blue Apron type program where you actually receive the food instead of receive the cash. Mulvaney said it lowers the cost to us because we can buy at wholesale prices, whereas they have to buy it at retail. It also makes sure they're getting nutritious food, so we're pretty excited about that. So, uh, sure enough, it's bound that this was going to raise eyebrows, and that's exactly what it did. But I don't necessarily see it as that bad of an idea. And just bear with me here. I'm trying to get some nice background music going for us. But yeah, I don't see this as a bad idea. Mainly because I've tried Blue Apron type programs. I actually tried Blue Apron, and I thought it was great. You don't have to worry about the food that you're going to get, and it's healthy food. And I don't see the government taking this over. What I see happening is Trump probably privatizing this and having some companies, maybe Blue Apron, maybe HelloFresh. There's a whole bunch of companies out there that now box up food for you. It's pretty common today that you'll find and you'll see advertisements that say, "Hey, get your food, delivered to you, right to your doorstep." Even, supermarkets are now trying to find ways where they can ship you your food directly. They have people that go through the food store and they deliver it. And so to that point, to that extent, I could see this actually being of really good benefit for people that are on welfare, or people that need to rely on this. I tried to look up some stats about what people can get with the supplemental nutrition program, and so I went to the USDA, and here's basically a whole list of what they can currently buy today. So households can use SNAP benefits to buy foods for the household to eat, such as breads and cereals, fruits and vegetables, meats, fish and poultry, and dairy products. They can also buy seeds and plants which produce food for the household to eat. In some areas, restaurants can even be authorized. Households cannot use SNAP benefits to buy beer, wine, liquor, cigarettes, or tobacco, and any non-food pet items. And you can see the list here: pet foods, soaps, paper products, household supplies. They can't buy vitamins and medicines, and they can't buy food that will be eaten in the store, and they can't buy hot foods. So you can already see the SNAP program is pretty well defined as it stands today. However, there are a few caveats that I think are some of the areas where the government might be trying to tighten up their budget. So junk food and luxury food items. So some of the things that are actually still eligible for purchasing through SNAP, soft drinks, candy, cookies, snack crackers, and ice cream are food items and are therefore eligible. And then also seafood, steak, bakery cakes are also food items and therefore eligible. So you can kind of see on one end of the spectrum, there are like these normal things that, hey, you know, if people want to get these, this light is pretty bright, isn't it? Ugh. Yeah, if people actually want to buy, you know, some of these things, then sure, let them buy it. But on the other hand, it's like if you're receiving these benefits, you shouldn't be out there buying seafood and porterhouse steaks and things like that. Granted, you know, this is a free country. You should be free to do whatever you want to do. But at the same time, if you're getting assistance from the government and it's our taxpayer money, I want to make sure that my taxpayer money is being put to good use and not being wasted by people who think that they can afford to buy steak when maybe they should be trying to, you know, save some money and buy something else. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for what people should and shouldn't buy. That's up to the government, not me. But I still think this is a really good idea. I think that if the government or if the Trump administration, whoever takes this over, is able to put together some sort of program like Blue Apron and maybe set up some sort of a package where, hey, here's what you can get. You can get, you know, you can pick your meals, because most people do have internet access. For those that don't, you can probably still maybe go into a store and set it up. But you can pick out the things that you want. So I think there should still be some level of itemization as to what you get, and then they deliver it. It's an economies of scale. They're exactly right. Having all these people go to a retail store and buy things, and I believe, I'm not quite sure. I wasn't able to find anything about, you know, how the prices are determined for you know, WIC and SNAP at places like Walmart, but there are obviously approved items that you'll see they have a sign on them, and that kind of gives people that are in these programs a, you know, an identifier to say, hey, I can buy this because I can use the money that I get from the government on this. I don't know if there are any deals brokered for those items, but obviously if the government is saying that they can use economies of scale to bring these prices down even further, then why not give them the opportunity to do that? I think it's a great idea. So I want to go back to the Washington Post article, where Mulvaney's remarks drew raised eyebrows from some critics who accused the Trump administration official of drawing an unfair comparison between the food stamp program, which delivers an average of $1.37 per meal to America's poorest, and a high-end meal kit that runs $10 per serving. And it's not unfair. I don't see where the unfairness is. This is taking a proven business model, and Blue Apron, and applying it to a program that they believe they can save some money on by applying these types of procedures. So if it's $1.37 per meal today, and they're saying they can do this, maybe they save 37 cents. Maybe it becomes $1. I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. They said on Monday the Trump administration proposed cutting food stamps, formerly known as SNAP, by $17 billion in 2019 and more than $213 billion over the next decade. The dramatic reductions came as part of a budget proposal that made sweeping across-the-board cuts to popular safety net programs, including federal housing subsidies and Medicaid, which maybe I'll follow up on those later. But the administration's SNAP proposal was particularly striking, advocates and experts said, because it advocates a fundamental change to the program's administration. For the past 40 years, the Department of Agriculture has distributed benefits as either paper coupons or virtual disbursements on electronic benefit transfer cards, allowing recipients to use them as cash on foods of their choice and at their own grocery store. But under the Trump administration proposal, which USDA has dubbed America's Harvest Box, so I guess it already has a name, all households receiving more than $90 per month in benefits, which is 81% of SNAP households overall, would begin receiving roughly half of their benefits in the form of government-purchased non-perishable food items. These foods would include shelf-stable milk, juice, grains, cereal, pasta, peanut butter, beans, and canned meat, fruits, and vegetables, according to the USDA. So they wouldn't get like fresh fruits and vegetables, which I think you could argue that, what's the difference between canned meat, fruits, and vegetables? There are preservatives in some of those, but even those you can get, a healthy type of preservative. But when you hear things like they're trying to skimp on some of these things, I just feel like it's going to be like the worst milk. It's going to be like the worst of the juices and the worst grains. Like it's going to be like scraps that get scraped up off the floor when they're done sweeping the factory. So that's my worry there, is that whereas the current program, people can go into the store and see, I can actually, pick a nice looking apple versus a busted up apple. Now they're just going to be getting like this canned crap with all these preservatives to keep it stable, probably over 10 years. They might even have some of this stuff ready to go. They may have had it for like the past 20 years. And now Trump is finally like, yes, I was able to switch the embassy. Now I can finally push this, so who knows? So anyway, the department estimates that it could supply these goods at roughly half the cost of retail, slashing the cost of SNAP while still feeding the hungry. And if that's the case, then they'd be able to feed even more people. But of course, they're looking for savings probably to go towards Donald Trump's military parade. Who knows? It is this program that Mulaney likened to meal kit delivery service Blue Apron, whose shipments typically include fresh fish, meat, and produce, earning the derision of some on social media. A spokesperson for Blue Apron could not immediately be reached for comment, and I don't even know why you'd be trying to reach out to Blue Apron for comment unless you were trying to see if they were at least going to be a part of this and maybe offer some sort of low-income food alternative and work with the Trump administration, because that would be my thought. If I'm one of these companies, I'm looking at, okay, how do I position myself to be the deliverer of this program? Hearing that the Trump admin is selling this as the blue aproning of SNAP, no, tweeted Chad Bolt, a senior policy manager at the progressive group Indivisible. With Blue Apron, you get to pick your meals and decide when they come, and it gives you all the ingredients you need to complete it, echoed New York Times op-ed writer Bryce Covert. Under Trump's plan, the government decides what you get and when you get it. And the problem is, one of the biggest issues, or one of the biggest negative statements that I heard, and again I kind of talked about it earlier with the SNAP program, as people that even with their funds from SNAP, they would make bad health decisions. They would not get healthy foods, and with that they were eating unhealthy, and with that came unhealthy lifestyles and things like obesity, which would then lead to them going to the hospital and increased healthcare costs. So residual costs to the taxpayer, because people weren't making good decisions. Now, I'm saying this as a blanket statement, but I need to do more research to see how big of an impact this has actually had on our economy. But again, if you're receiving federal assistance from the government, then I believe that they should be able to dictate how you use that money until you get on your own feet and you're making your own money and you can make your own decisions. But it's like when you live in your mother's house. If you're getting an allowance, or if you're living under that roof, then you're probably going to follow the rules of your mom and your dad. And that's what being on government assistance is to me. Regardless of where you came from or how you got there, it's a program, and the more the program can dictate how things are run, the more they can control costs. And unfortunately, that comes at the cost of some freedoms. And if that freedom is picking what you get to eat for a few years, then I think you should be willing to give up that freedom to ensure that you can get back on your feet and get that freedom back. You got to make a sacrifice somewhere. And I think this is a good sacrifice. And now them deciding when you get the food, I'm pretty sure that as long as you get all the food that you need for the upcoming week for your family, then you should be okay. And this even gets into another point. I mean, just think about the logistics that, they could work with UPS and to deliver these things. There's so many items in here that I see as an incentive. It's hard for me to see where the negatives are. So I reach out to everyone else. Let me know where the negatives are in this. So many anti-hunger advocates and analysts are equally skeptical skeptical of the proposed food box, which, if approved, would impact 16.4 million households. They say it's unclear how the USDA would deliver the boxes and how much that would cost. Equally unclear is whether USDA would allot the same foods to, say, an elderly diabetic and a family with young children. And this is a good point. You can't offer the same foods to people that actually have certain, health conditions. But to that extent, that's where I think they would need to set up some sort of a program like a Blue Apron style website, or, somewhere where people can come in and say, hey, I need to have this type of food. And that's where I can see, more costs being baked in. So that's what they've got to try to figure out. So they say it boggles the mind how that would play out, said Kathy Fisher, policy director at Philadelphia's Coalition Against Hunger. We know SNAP works now when people can choose what they need. How they would distribute foods to people with specialized diets or to people in rural areas is very expensive and very complicated. And that I agree with. They would have to definitely figure out, the specialized diets and how do you get to people in rural areas who just can come and pick up their food when they want, and they might just be completely off the grid. How do you figure that out unless you all these people are already on some sort of registry, right? So you just make sure that maybe their box is sitting there waiting for them at whatever grocery store they choose to get their food from. The proposal is also likely to enrage food retailers, particularly Walmart, Target, and Aldi, who stand to lose billions if food stamp benefits are cut, analysts say. On Monday, the Food Marketing Institute, a trade association for grocery stores, condemned the Harvest Box proposal as expensive, inefficient, and unlikely to generate any long-term government savings. And of course, they would say that because they're trying to protect their profits. If these are all groups, if this group consists of Walmart, Target, and Aldi. Ironically, that sort of criticism has also dogged Blue Apron, which saw its customer base contract in 2017. A recent report by the market research firm Data Central found that 4 in 10 lapsed meal kit subscribers dropped their service because they were too costly. And again, this is where you get into the economies of scale. If the government can leverage 16 million, was it? I think it was 16 million people, versus I'm not sure how many people are in Blue Apron. I've got to look that up, but I'm pretty sure it's not 16 million. I'll be surprised. Then that would be pretty interesting. And people can't leave the SNAP program unless they actually get to a certain income amount. So it's not like they can say, oh, I don't feel like doing this Blue Apron SNAP thing anymore, I'm going to unsubscribe. No, it's pretty much going to be forced on you. As much as a third of the price per box goes towards shipping and logistics, which remain daunting, industry analysts told the Post last June. Food policy experts expressed skepticism that the government could do better. And I think they could. I think through economies of scale and just by seeing the business that this presents, companies are going to be like climbing over each other to offer low-cost alternatives. Amazon can easily solve the problem of logistics here, believe me. In a statement, Jim Wheel, president of the Food Research and Action Center, described the proposal as a Rube Goldberg-designed system of commodity distribution via food boxes. It will be administratively costly, inefficient, stigmatizing, and prone to failure, Wheel added, and it will return the country to Depression-era anti-hunger approaches. And that's just a really one-sided statement that just doesn't even look at how can it be beneficial. If there's one thing that I appreciate about the Trump administration is that they just kind of throw crap out there, and you gotta kind of figure out, okay, how can we actually make this work? So it's actually getting us to think. I'm not one for big government because I think that people should be allowed to think and problem solve on their own. And the government gets in the way. As we can see, the government has gotten in the way many times. You get the Senate and the House of Representatives, they can't agree on anything, and the next thing you know, bills are just stuck sitting in limbo for years, months, if not up to a year or more. So smaller government that's designed to just pinpoint issues and propose solutions, and then let the private sector actually attack them and create solutions to them without being a detriment to the rest of society, I think is a great idea. So go ahead, crucify me if you want, but I've never been a huge proponent of just big government and big government spending. So I am interested to see what happens with this Blue Apron, Rube Goldberg type food distribution process that will probably replace SNAP. I am interested to get your thoughts on it as well. I was going to cover a few other stories, so I'll just hit on them real quick. President or former President Obama and his wife Michelle Obama had their portraits debuted, and I was happy to say or see that they weren't white; they're actually black, unlike Queen Nefertiti. There was also the story about the Texas teacher who died from the flu because the medication that she could have gotten was too expensive, and it just makes me think, how bad is our healthcare system that you can't even afford to buy or to get flu medication and you die. And then our homie Jeff Sessions. I'm going to end with a wonderful quote from our homie Jeff. Let's see, is my sound on? Gosh, you guys got to hear this. I'm going to end with this. Let's see. Let's turn this up because I want everyone to hear what this guy had to say. I'm telling you, we do have some fools that are working under the Trump administration. I will tell you that much. So here we go. If it decides to play, of course. Which, of course, it does not.
I want to thank every sheriff in America. Since our founding, the independently elected sheriff has been the people's protector, who keeps law enforcement close to and accountable to people through the elected process. The office of sheriff is a critical part of the Anglo-American heritage of law enforcement. We must
What?
the heritage of law enforcement. We must, of the Anglo-American heritage, critical part of the Anglo-American heritage, part of the Anglo-American heritage of law enforcement, of the Anglo-American heritage of law enforcement, of the Anglo-American heritage of law enforcement.
So I'm just going to leave you with that. Thanks for watching. Maybe I'll talk about this tomorrow, but I just can't go in right now. I have no energy to deal with this crap. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Snap being revamped, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Peace out.